Hey guys, Mike here. So, here it is, the video that the whole year has been leading up to, my top 10 best movies of 2019. And I'd like to say that this year has had some mostly decent movies. However, these movies were the ones that really stood out to me most this year, and that's why they've made the list. So first of all, little disclaimer, I haven't seen every single movie that's come out this year, and this list is 100% my opinion. Some of these movies might not even be that great, they're just the ones that I really liked. So with all that out of the way, let's get started on my top 10 best movies of 2019.
Number 10.
So, kicking off my list, we have Alita Battle Angel. So going into this one, I never read the manga, I'd never even heard of it, so I wasn't really expecting anything great. However, from start, middle, and end, this movie constantly delivers. The CGI is amazing, the action is brilliant, and you can actually see every single thing that's going on. And I would absolutely love to see a sequel to this movie. Though, given how the box office did, it may be a bit of a stretch for this movie to get a sequel. However, nonetheless, this movie absolutely deserves a sequel.
Number 9.
Now, as you may or may not know, I do not watch trailers for movies that I really want to see. Because by the time you go to see the movie, you've already seen the entire movie and it just really spoils it for you. And I'd say one of the movies that I definitely most benefited from not watching the trailers was Jumanji: The Next Level. Mainly because I didn't know the kids were going to be playing different avatars when they went into the game this time. And that definitely allowed the actors to show off a little bit more range and generally be just a bit more entertaining as well. And honestly, though some of the performances were a little bit off, it didn't stop them from being entertaining and really hilarious. Overall, the action was clear-cut, the movie was extremely fun. And as a side note, my Jumanji review was my first ever video to get over 1,000 views, so thank you for that, guys. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a third Jumanji movie, well, fourth, depending on how you see it.
Number 8.
Now, some franchises never get their feet off the ground, others you wish would just end, and others you can't wait to see the next installment. Then there are some franchises that tie a nice, neat little bow and should just end right there. But then you find out that they're adding another movie, and it starts to make you get a bit worried. You think like, oh, why are they doing this? Like, why are they ruining the franchise? But still, you get curious and you go see the movie anyway, and it turns out to be one of the best ones in the entire franchise. That movie is, of course, Toy Story 4. I've got to admit, I was extremely skeptical when this movie was announced. I had the exact same thought process that everyone else had. Why are you making another movie? The trilogy is perfect. Why ruin that? But I was extremely surprised of how good Toy Story 4 was. It's a movie that pretty much just has no right being as good as it is. All the characters return and they're just as good as they ever were. And Toy Story 4 gives us another chance to delve deep into these characters and find out what makes them tick and what really makes them want to get up in the morning. And ultimately, I would argue that Toy Story 4 definitely has a relevant story to tell, and the emotional highs that this movie reaches is some of the best in the entire franchise. So, do I think they should make a Toy Story 5? No, not really. I think they were kind of pushing it with 4. Will they make a Toy Story 5? More than likely, yes. And you know what? I'd still go see Toy Story 5 anyway, because if it's anywhere near as good as Toy Story 4, it's definitely going to be worth seeing.
Number 7.
So when I was a kid, I could not have been more disinterested in wrestling. It just seemed lame, cheap, cheesy, and just something I was not into in the slightest. So when it came to seeing a movie about a wrestler who I had never heard of, I was initially a little bit skeptical. But then within the first 5 or 10 minutes, all those doubts were erased, and I knew that I was in for a real good time with this movie. And that is fighting with my family. Oh my god, I had no idea how good this movie was going to be. But like I said, I was not into wrestling in the slightest. But you really don't have to be into wrestling to really appreciate this movie. Because at its core, it's about family and doing whatever you can to help and support your family. And that's something we can all definitely relate to. But not only that, Florence Pugh was amazing in this movie. And pretty much since this movie, she's become one of my favourite actresses of this year. Because in the other movies that I've seen her in this year, even though some of them haven't really been that great, she has been outstanding in them. And I really hope she continues this trend of success. But pretty much Fighting with My Family as a whole, it's entertaining, it's funny, and it's just really a heartwarming tale. And in all honesty, Fighting with My Family has made me have a whole new appreciation for wrestling. I wouldn't say that I'm into wrestling now, but I can definitely see the appreciation and the art behind it.
Number 6.
So, Bohemian Rhapsody for me was one of my favourite movies of 2018, so I was really looking forward to seeing what the next great musical pick would be, and that for me was Rocketman. Now, in all honesty, when I went to go see Rocketman, I had no idea that it even was a musical. I thought that it was just going to be a straightforward, run-of-the-mill, average biopic, but that could not be further from the truth. First of all, Taron Egerton is absolutely outstanding in this movie. And for the longest time throughout this year, I've said that he should be nominated for an Oscar for this performance. It's already good to see that he's been nominated for a Golden Globe, but he should definitely go all the way to the top and get nominated for the Academy Awards. And like I said in my review, this movie feels like the Madness musical, Our House, where instead of the musical feeling like it's written around the songs, it feels like the songs were written for the musical. And that is definitely the case for Rocketman. Because going into this movie, I knew a few Elton John songs, but I didn't know like a wide range of them. So for all I knew, all these songs could have been written for the musical. And in all honesty, I enjoyed the music in this movie so much that I've been listening to the soundtrack constantly throughout this year since seeing the movie. And in my opinion, I would say that Rocketman is better than Bohemian Rhapsody. Because not taking anything away from Rami Malek's performance, at least Taron Egerton actually sings all his songs. But still, Rocketman, absolutely amazing.
Number 5.
Now, normally I could take one look at a movie and pretty much decide right there and then if it's going to be in contention for my top 10 list. But honestly, going back to the start of the year, I never would have thought that Instant Family would have made my top 10 list. And I was really shocked at how much I enjoyed this movie. Because honestly, I just thought this was going to be another run-of-the-mill, average American comedy that I would have forgotten about in the next week or two. But this movie really stayed with me. Because not only is everyone hilarious and really great in this movie, there's just so many heartwarming moments in this movie. And Instant Family sheds light on a really important subject. And it just goes to show that family is more than blood.
Number 4.
So next on my list is a bit more of a smaller, indie action movie. I think you may have heard of it. It's called John Wick Chapter 3. Now, for the longest time, I've been pretty much thoroughly disappointed with action movies as a whole. More often than not, you can't see what's going on, and the action is very uncreative. However, that's definitely not the case for the John Wick franchise. Just when you think you've seen everything, the John Wick franchise releases another movie and reminds you, oh no, there's still definitely more to see. Where in John Wick Chapter 2 the action is cranked up to 11, in John Wick Chapter 3 it's cranked all the way up to 58, because this movie hardly gives you time to breathe. It's just action set piece after action set piece, always constantly topping one another, getting even more creative, exciting and dangerous too. And I really do appreciate all the work that the actors, directors, editors, everyone put into this movie. For the longest time we've all known that Keanu Reeves absolutely kicks ass, but the biggest surprise came from Halle Berry in this movie, and she pretty much shows that her character in this franchise is someone that you definitely don't want to mess with. I'd say that the most dicey thing that John Wick Chapter 3 does is leave it open for another movie. Could they finally be stepping into the territory of overdoing it? I guess we'll have to see when John Wick Chapter 4 comes out.
Number 3.
Indie teen romance comedies tend to not really do well at the box office, so what do? Well, you disguise it as a big Hollywood blockbuster superhero movie, and right there you have a recipe for success. So that brings me to Spider-Man Far From Home. As you may or may not know, I am the biggest fan of the MCU franchise. For the most part, the MCU has released outstanding masterworks of comic book movies, and Spider-Man Far From Home is no exception. And though on the surface, Spider-Man Far From Home seems like every other superhero movie, you have to really scratch beneath the surface to find the real gold of this movie. Because the world being in danger, we've all seen that before. But whether Peter Parker gets the girl or not, those are the highest stakes in the world. And I'd say that's probably the best part of the movie. And I think honestly that's one of the best things about Spider-Man Homecoming as well. Not necessarily the Spider-Man problems, it's always the Peter Parker problems that really resonate with you. And with the cliffhanger ending that this movie had, and then Sony announcing that they'd be taking Spider-Man out of the MCU, I went absolutely crazy like everyone else. But you know what, I still kept the faith, because when James Gunn got fired, I still had hope that he would come back. I just thought, nah, they're going to reverse this decision, and he is going to come back. And wouldn't you know it, he did. And I had the exact same attitude for Spider-Man coming back in the MCU, and my faith was rewarded with having Spider-Man coming right back home where he belongs. So, I cannot wait to see what they do with Spider-Man next in the MCU.
Number 2.
I don't think any movie this year was more talked about than Joker. Because everywhere I went this year, when the topic of movies came up, Joker was pretty much the one that always got into the conversation, even for people who hadn't actually seen the movie. Because when Joker first got announced, I was very skeptical. I just thought, how can you do a Joker origin story? This seems like a kind of bad idea. But as it came closer and closer to the movie, I got more and more excited, because I've been hearing really good things about it. But honestly, hearing that the critics loved it kind of made me a bit skeptical again, because it kind of made me think, this movie's going to be really pretentious and it's not going to really connect with audiences. However, I finally saw the movie and I could not have been more impressed. Though admittedly, I didn't really think all that much about it when I first saw it, but from the instant I left the cinema and pretty much the months that followed, I just could not stop thinking about this movie. Going into Joker though, I'd heard that it was really dark, it was really disturbing. How could this ever been made? If like you're a nervous disposition, don't go see it. And I was just thinking have you, like, never seen a movie ever? Like, this isn't really that bad. And I would say that this really worked in Joker's favour because it made more people want to go see it. It cannot be understated how amazing Joaquin Phoenix was in this movie. This guy was absolutely incredible, and he definitely deserves an Oscar nomination. Hell, he deserves to win the Oscar because he's that amazing. For the longest time of the year, I did say that Taron Egerton was the one to beat, but then Joaquin Phoenix came along and yeah, he's definitely the best performance of this year, I reckon. So, just before we get to number 1, here are some honourable mentions.
Did you just talk?
Whoa. Did you just understand me?
Oh my God, you can understand me. Stop. I've been so lonely.
They try to talk to me all the time. All they hear is pika pika.
You can hear him, right?
Pika pika!
Yeah, pika pika pika. He's adorable.
You're adorable. They can't understand me, kid.
Can no one else hear him?
Did you know Jews can read each other's minds?
But how would you know if you saw one? They could look just like us. Hi.
I'm gonna live till I die.
You think one of his family Walls killed him? Is that what you're suggesting?
Let it cry. I'm gonna take the
You all love twisting the knife into one another.
up your ass.
Oh, very nice.
Matter of fact,
Oh my God.
eat shit.
Access granted.
He's more person than dog.
Denny was clearly taken with her grooming. She probably bathed every day for all I knew.
Does he always stare at people like this?
If he likes them.
Number 1.
So, here it is, guys. The big one. My number 1 movie of 2019. There was no competition. I knew this movie was going to be number 1 on my list throughout the whole entire year. And that movie is, of course, Avengers Endgame. Now, I knew this movie was going to be good, but this movie far surpassed my expectations. It's the culmination of 20 plus movies in 11 years, and it definitely shows. Near enough everyone is in this movie. And as a kid, you'd never think they would make a movie like this. And then the MCU comes along and makes those dreams a reality. Is this movie perfect? No, but it's an absolute thrill ride from start, middle, and end. And though the 3-hour runtime may have been a problem for some people, I honestly would have sat through this movie for 4 hours. I just wanted more and more. Endgame doesn't pull any punches. It's probably one of the best cinema experiences of my life. And honestly, probably like most people, I don't think I've ever cried so much in a movie in my life. When I went to go see this movie, I was pretty much surrounded by all my friends, and some of them were kind of like me as well, but for the most part, they were all just looking at me thinking like, what are you crying about? But you know what? No regrets. This movie was amazing. And for all those reasons, Avengers Endgame is my number 1 movie of 2019. And there we have it, guys, my top 10 movies of 2019. I hope you enjoyed it. What was your favourite movie of the year? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. And lastly, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who supported my channel this year. Because in all honesty, I've really been kind of falling off the idea of continuing this channel. Because I wasn't kind of getting the response that I wanted and not enough people were watching my videos. And I just really wasn't enjoying it. However, in the last couple of months, I've had an amazing response to my channel. And honestly, all the support that I've been getting has really made me want to carry on doing this. And so hopefully in 2020, I want to try some new things. Maybe do some longer reviews, maybe do some different kind of reviews, do another mashup trailer, try something new. Whatever it is I do, I'm really looking forward to carrying on this channel in 2020. So with all that, guys, I hope you've had a good year. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And until next time, I've been Michael. See ya.